Hi everyone, let's talk about Clams Casino. Michael Volpe, if I pronounced that correctly, is a New Jersey producer, beatmaker, who goes by the name of Clams Casino, and he has been making music for well over a decade now. He's dropped 2 albums up until this point, a few EPs as well, and he has collaborated with the likes of A$AP Rocky, as well as Lil B, and a few others. He dropped his last album in 2019, an album that I actually genuinely did not know came out, so I missed it. And now he has released an instrumental album, one that actually takes the sounds that he was working in the late 2000s, early 2010s, and puts these instrumentals onto, again, a compilation. And he's been known to do something like this. He's done it for instrumentals before. I think this is like his 4th instrumental album, but this is technically a compilation because, well, it compiles together some of the beats he's made from 2000s to the 2010s. One of the most notable songs on this compilation is the track I'm God featuring Imogen Heap, which was featured on the 2009 mixtape album thing from Lil B, Six Kiss. This is just a straight up instrumental version, which is beautiful, amazing, almost effervescent in some way. The sample is nostalgic, and the song itself is almost dreamy and hypnotizing and almost beautiful. I don't mean almost beautiful, it is beautiful. It's a beautiful track that is very hypnotic, meditative, and almost nocturnal in some way. Now, like I said earlier, this is not the only track to be I guess revamped and revitalized from his works in the late 2000s, early 2010s. We also have songs that came from his Rainforest EP back in 2011, an original cut from the Grand Theft Auto 5 soundtrack, as well as a song from Soulja Boy and A$AP Rocky. Of course, all of these songs have their backstories, but I don't think they're really that important, because what I find very impressive about this compilation is that it doesn't even feel like a compilation at all. It feels like a very cohesive set of tracks, each with a different flair to them, yes, but they all kind of flow very nicely into one another, and they actually complement one another as well. Now, I do think Clams Casino had a misstep on this compilation, mainly by putting I'm God at the beginning of this track listing, because it makes you, I guess, anticipate other songs like this. It's not really a tone setter, but it does kind of set the mood for the album. A lot of the instrumentals on this comp are hazy, they're grainy, they're a little fuzzy, but they're still very, I guess, audible and discernible. Probably the most noisy track on this record is actually the 2nd track, I'm the Devil. And this song in particular kind of is just shy from being a highlight for me because of how distorted it actually is. I could barely hear the instrumental that's underneath this very thick layer of fuzz. And again, a lot of the songs on this compilation are going to be like that, and it adds its own little character to it, its own little flair, but sometimes I do feel like there are moments that could have been produced a little bit better or even touched up. Like the track Unchain Me, that snare is god-awful. I don't know who the hell fucking made that snare. It's like the St. Anger snare of this album. It's really that bad, and I can't remember the last time there was a song I've listened to where there's a particular element of the track that completely ruins it for me. This snare is just god-awful. It is just poorly mixed. It's so loud compared to everything on this track. It really is one of the weakest moments on this record. However, despite my criticisms for this compilation, there are some really beautiful and nocturnal and just amazing highlights. There's a pretty good run in the track listing from track 7 all the way to track 14, where the songs have an interesting character to them, all playing together to each other's strengths very nicely, but there's also just this beautiful, I guess, aura around these tracks in particular that makes it feel like a nostalgic throwback to the sounds of cloud rap that was pretty popular in the late 2000s, early 2010s. The aura is emphasized between these tracks in particular, specifically on tracks like Drowning or Realist Alive, with the very somber piano-backed instrumental and this very disorienting vocal sample. This track in particular just sounds like I don't even know, demented in some way. It almost sounds demented, creepy, eerie, skin crawling. But then you get tracks like Realist Alive, where the instrumental is very almost upbeat, almost very uplifting, and so is the vocal sample, and it sounds like I'm ascending. Ethereal is another way I could describe a lot of the songs on this album, but also I can describe it as very hypnotic, very meditative, and also nocturnal as well. The track Crystals is probably the most involved song on this entire compilation, but the track as a whole does not sound like this disorienting, discombobulated mess of a song. It definitely has a good balance between that noisy and fuzzy sound that's on all of these songs, but with a production and beat that is, again, very intricate, very involved. This track has this sample that is just completely wrapped around this instrumental. It is beautifully eerie and haunting. Pretty much all of the other tracks kind of follow a similar formula to one another, where the track kind of leads up to this moment where the song kind of plateaus, but most of the moments on this record are really beautiful. Ethereal is another way I can describe this compilation, but also, like, again, a nostalgic throwback. This just sounds like something that comes from my memory and not something that sounds like it comes from an actual album. In a similar way that Vaporwave sounds to me, like it sounds very nostalgic, it sounds like I've listened to this before, but mainly because Vaporwave takes samples from songs that are very popular and stretches them out, but that's a different story. While there were moments on this compilation that fell short for me, overall I thought this was a pretty good set of songs. I feel like the songs themselves actually enhance the overall experience of this compilation, and again, they play into each other's strengths very well. Again, sometimes I wish the moments on this compilation were produced a little bit better, but I mean, I'm not really complaining all that much because it's a fine compilation. It's really good, a good and solid set of tracks on this thing. Personally, for me, it's a pretty solid B+. However, I am curious to know what are your thoughts and opinions on this album down below. Let me know what albums you want me to review next, and that is it. Like, comment, share, do whatever you want. Let me know how I can improve future videos down below. Remember, this is only my opinion because music is subjective.